Hello, looking dead. Half dead anyway. I'm trying to upload via my ooh, phone. I'm not sure if it's working. New phone. So, update to my channel of what I'm doing. Um, yeah, I mean, basically, I'm going through this kind of Harry Potter stage for some reason, and I think it was kind of like trying to recapture my childhood of like Harry Potter. So I started picking up the books and reading them. And my friend, when he saw me at the time, was like, oh, "I'm disappointed in you. Why aren't you reading Lord of the Rings?" And I was like, "Well, because I don't particularly find Lord of the Rings interesting, to be honest. Um, I don't find it a particularly interesting story. The characters are really great and stuff. And I saw the films, but everyone was reading the books, and I was like, I'm just not into that. Um, you know, People delving into the darkness of their hearts and trying to overcome the trials of their life, and I kind of got to the point in my life where I was like, I need something light and happy, and I tried to kind of move to Harry Potter. And while everybody was sort of like getting in deep into the darkness of Lord of the Rings, I was trying to kind of keep it a little bit lighter with Harry Potter. And then Harry Potter sort of got really dark very quickly with Voldemort and stuff like that. Like he wasn't just a villain that you defeated. Like no, like he came back again and again, and then he became more and more like uh, Morgoth, you know, from or Sauron from Lord of the Rings. In the end, this kind of like super ultra evil demon that only like the superhero can defeat. And I just thought, oh gosh, there's always so much pressure on the hero to defeat the villain and come out on top. And then I think back to the Lord of the Rings days when reading Lord of the Rings and watching the films and stuff like that, and thinking, yeah, I kind of understand this kind of when you're fighting a battle and you're not really sure, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, what's going on, I don't understand, sort of thing. And it's all this narrative sort of story. And so I'm out in the world, and I'm trying to keep this video short. I'm out in the world, and I'm just like, I'm meeting more and more people who really take on this Harry Potter philosophy, like as deeply as anything I've ever seen in my life before. um they'll wear the pride, and all of this. And I think it's really brilliant because every fans, Lord of the Rings fans, comic book fans, they always take that on board, and it's become this kind of really nice little subculture, kind of magical kind of culture. Like, where do you fit into the world? What kind of a person are you? And I actually started looking back into it really Harry Potter wise, and kind of thinking, there was some really good bits in Harry Potter, like Gryffindor being for the honor of, you know, the your house, the honor of your house. Slytherin being the greed and the hedonism of your kind of like personality. Hufflepuff being the pride of your house, and Ravenclaw being the prestige of your house. Being the best of the best. The perfectionists, the dotting the T's and dotting the T's and crossing the I's. The Ravenclaws, the one that really at the end of the day do the spell checking, the proofreading, the grammar Nazis, the Ravenclaws, the prestige, so that when everything gets to the front page, you've got everything there. And I kind of like, oh, it's a really normalized way of looking at the kind of human condition. But when I realized for children actually, um, this is really entry level. Yeah, I mean, like, you've got to really, yeah, I think you've got to read Harry Potter before you can really understand Lord of the Rings. Because at the Harry Potter level, it's like, there's this deep evil within you. Because really, the Potter story is about him defeating the evil in himself. Because remember, Voldemort's almost part of him. Really, it's like his cancerous alter ego, eating him up. and his battle with that, and overcoming and victory. And in the Lord of the Rings, it's exactly the same, where you overcome the battles and the victories, but the wounds, they stay. In Harry Potter, there was a bit of a happy ending, and in Lord of the Rings, there was a happy ending to a degree. But you had Bilbo going off, being too sick. You had Frodo being taken off because he was too sick now. You had the elves, leave Earth for good. And you had one of the elves, give up her immortality, which, it's devastating for an immortal to lose. Even if it was for true love, losing an immortal forever is hard. And the deep wounds of war, and how they really taint your soul. And that's something that the kind of Harry Potter story doesn't really go too deep into until the very sort of end, when the final battle he wins, and all the evil is dispelled and stuff like that. And in Lord of the Rings, it's a little bit more mature, like, hey, not everyone gets out alive. I mean, people died in Potter too, but in the Lord of the Rings, it was, the scars that were left were so deep. And actually, I'm starting to kind of realize now that the Harry Potter story and the Lord of the Rings story is so deeply intertwined on so many levels of, like, who are you as a person? What do you stand for? What do you fight for? How corruptible are you actually? If you've got a little bit of power in you, how corruptible you can be as a person. Every king that ever touched that ring was consumed by the power and greed of wanting to have that. Every king, even the most honorable kings. The king who actually cut Sauron's finger, he was supposed to be an incorruptible king, right? He went to war with the elves, and yet when he touched the ring, he was consumed by the greed and power that will come with it. And it's how this sickness consumes you. And it's actually, I'm starting to realize, is the sickness inside of us is the human condition. We deal with that, right? And it's like we fight the evil in our hearts, because of our greed, our hedonism. And in a Harry Potter way, it really does just put it into this kind of, hey, you can be a Slytherin and be a hedonist and get what you want, or you could be a Gryffindor and fight for honor